If you think that Valiant Thor was the only extraterrestrial who spoke and visited with President Eisenhower, then you would be wrong. That is the surface world version, meant to be a simple story for simple humans who, have a nice little story about the so-called Venusian who comes to, the United States and warns, President Eisenhower about nuclear weapons. All right. Behind that narrative, there is somebody far older, debatably more influential, and that is Rashelle Temer. She wasn't some just mysterious visitor who came and went. She's actually still here. She's been here since 1952. She's not a myth. She's one of the longest serving ambassadors of the Taygetan civilization. And she's been she's been positioned here right around Earth. She's a direct liaison between Taygeta, the Galactic Federation, and even certain branches of Earth's hidden governments. While Valiant Thor was the public face of a tightly controlled disclosure attempt, Rashelle was the real diplomat behind the scenes, guiding interstellar politics from the shadows, like I said, since 1952. She's half Taygetan on her mother's side and half Antarian on her father's side. See, Taygetans are typically light-haired and blue or green-eyed. Antarians are dark hair, white skin, and like green-eyed. Well, she came out looking like an Antarian she has dark brown hair, so she got a mix of the two. And she has white skin and bright green eyes. Okay? Here's the part that bends the mind. She was born on Temmer, one of the Taygetan worlds in the Taurus system, on May 20th, 1832. Yet her body is still that of a 25-year-old woman. See, Taygetan biology doesn't deteriorate according to linear time. And this is important to note, that our aging is a direct reflection of how we have a concept of linear time. It has to do with our ideas. That's why we age. Okay? But they exist in a higher vibrational band where consciousness directly modulates matter, at least their physical bodies. Okay. When you listen to her speak, it's not like hearing somebody from the past. It's like hearing somebody who steps sideways out of time. Okay? Somebody who's watched humanity's evolution without leaving her post for a long time. Her mission is triple layered. She's an ambassador between Taygeta, the Galactic Federation. She's an emissary between Taygeta and other member races. And most crucially, she's the official Taygeta and Federation representative for Earth. Her job is to mediate, observe, and when necessary, intervene to prevent this planet from self-destructing and dragging others down with it. You see, even though the Galactic Federation has its negative factions, and they're not all love and light good, they still don't want to see the complete destruction of their sick little playground they got going on now. Okay? The Taygetan presence around Earth became official in 1952, the same year that Rashelle arrived in orbit. That year wasn't random. It was followed by a series of atomic detonations that tore holes in the space-time continuum, okay? In the metaphysical fabric of this world and of other worlds. To the Federation, those explosions were not just political acts. They were dimensional shock waves, destabilizing entire sectors of space-time. You see, nuclear energy fractures density membranes, and it echoes through realities. And those echoes reach the neighboring star system. And that's when Taygeta volunteered to lead an intervention. Rashelle was part of that first official mission. Her task was diplomacy. Okay, they had time-traveling ships. Okay, and the ones that drive those ships are called sand clock pilots. All right. those early years were chaotic because extraterrestrial ships were being shot down deliberately by Earth's militaries. These were not accidents. These were acts of aggression. You know, the Cabal controlled factions inside the United States and the Soviet structures were shooting down any extraterrestrial craft that came into Earth's orbit. Okay? And we'll get into that a little bit more about how and all that stuff. Now, Rashelle's team witnessed firsthand over 40 different instances where these craft were shot down between the 1940s and the 1970s. And one of these is famous, and you know it. It's called Roswell. Okay, that wasn't an accident. When it became clear that humanity was not ready for open contact, Rashelle's supervisors authorized temporal intervention using their time-modulating ships. 2 Taygetan crews, 14 total individuals, traveled back in time to 1937 to try and steer history away from total catastrophe. Their goal was to disrupt the development of nuclear weapons within the Nazi regime and divert the timeline towards a less destructive future. Okay? This is where the story of the Vril Society begins. Not as a myth of psychic mediums channeling Aldebaran, which this is what you've heard, but as a Taygetan time-traveling operation. They carefully embedded themselves inside the German occult movement to manipulate its direction from within. Rashelle confirmed that Maria Orsic, the famous long-haired Vril woman, was actually Savia of Erra, one of the Taygetan operatives. And Rashelle herself served beside her in deep cover. The Vril women weren't Nazi collaborators. They were time-traveling agents working to stall nuclear advancement and soften the karmic trajectory of the war. When history records that the Vril Society vanished in 1945, that's not mythology. They simply returned to their point of origin, their task complete. Okay? They left a note that says no one is here because they literally went back to space. Yet even with those interventions, Rashelle admitted that the collective timeline could not be completely rewritten. The ideologies of control, the hierarchies of power, both survived and were transplanted into the post-war American complex under Operation Paperclip. The uniforms changed, but the structure remained. If you guys don't know about Operation Paperclip, just look it up and study it. It's basically, you know, how the Nazis came to the U.S. and were not persecuted. They actually took positions of power. So after that, Rashelle's orders shifted. She returned to orbit and assumed her long-term diplomatic post. It was in this phase that she interacted directly with President Eisenhower, alongside Federation representatives and, yes, Valiant Thor. But while Thor became the public legend and friendly Venusian seen at the Pentagon, Rashelle was the one conducting the actual diplomatic work. She described Eisenhower as conflicted. He was aware of the gravity of what he was signing, yet trapped within a web of military and industrial influence far beyond his control. The 1954 Greada Treaty, often attributed solely to Thor's presence, was in truth a Federation-negotiated ceasefire between human factions and extraterrestrial groups. Rashelle was among those who pleaded for restraint, warning that the trade of technology for abduction rights would end badly. Okay? So if you guys don't know about that treaty, that's when Eisenhower signed a treaty and actually made an agreement with the Maitre, with the tall grays to allow for abductions and experimentations to be done on the human race. Okay? So Rashelle was right. From her perspective, those agreements set the stage for everything that followed. The expansion of the Cabal, the weaponization of reverse-engineered craft, and the further concealment of benevolent contact behind walls of secrecy. Through it all, Rashelle stayed patient. Okay? She described her position as a diplomatic nightmare, juggling the cold logic of Federation Council officials with the emotional volatility of human leaders. Even among positive races, she said, disagreement is constant. The Federation is not a monolith of light, but a cosmic parliament full of friction and compromise. Her job is to keep communication flowing, to prevent fear, pride, and misunderstanding from collapsing cooperation entirely. When she speaks about Earth, her tone shifts. There's no condescension, no savior complex, just quiet sympathy. She knows how hard it is to incarnate here. She calls human life a compressed experience of frequency distortion, a soul's test in remembering itself through limitation. And yet she sees beauty in it, the courage of souls who dive into amnesia to rediscover their divinity. And that's you, okay? That's why she remains in orbit, still watching, still guiding, still hoping that one day contact can happen without manipulation or control. So while the world fixated on Valiant Thor, what he said, Venusian visitor with a silver suit and calm smile, the true architect of interstellar diplomacy, was somebody else. A Taygetan woman who's been here longer than any of us have been alive, operating in silence between worlds. That is Rashelle of Temer, born 1832, still 25, still here, and this is just the beginning. In the next episode, we're going to go deeper into those temporal missions, the time-traveling missions, the Vril Society, and the Taygetan technology that made time travel possible, the sand clock systems, how they work, and why those missions became the most sensitive operations in Federation history. Because once you understand the Vril, you begin to see the entire timeline of Earth differently. Not as a chain of coincidences, but as a carefully managed sequence of events designed to guide humanity toward awakening. All right, this is Jacob Angelakis, Astral Urmah. Stay sovereign, assert your free will, and have the experience that you want to have while you came down here. If you want your memories back, you can get them back. If you want a one-on-one session, please email me at astralurmah@gmail.com. I charge $50 an hour for sessions. If you really want to talk to me, you can't afford it, email me, let me know. We'll work something out. And please support me on Patreon if you've made it this far. And if you want a phi ray, if you're interested in getting a phi ray system, just get a hold of me. I can get you a discount. Yeah, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Thank you for supporting me. Love you guys. I'll talk to you later.